The supply shuttle drifted like a tired beetle toward the dark shape ahead. At first, Elias Vance thought the scanner was wrong. The numbers on his console said the object was a ship, but what filled the forward window looked more like a piece of night that had forgotten how to end. It was huge, wider than some stations, and it did not reflect sunlight the way metal should. Instead, it swallowed light and returned it as a dull, smooth sheen, like black stone polished by time. Elias tightened the straps of his suit and leaned closer to the glass. His breath fogged the inside of his helmet for a moment before the fan cleared it. Civilian vessel non-responsive, Mission Control had said. You'll patch the power, confirm life signs, and tow it back. That was the official story. The real story was in the silence. This ship was sitting in a dead zone of space where comms jittered and long-range sensors felt half-blind. A place that maps marked with polite warnings and no reasons. Elias was not a soldier. He was an engineer, the kind people called when something refused to work and nobody wanted to admit it. He liked clean problems, broken circuits, cracked pipes, stuck valves. Space already had enough mysteries without adding more. Yet here he was, alone with a ship that did not belong to any known registry, sent by a command that usually avoided risk unless it smelled like profit. The shuttle's autopilot chirped softly. Docking solutions presented themselves as neat green lines. There were no standard ports. Elias frowned. Of course! He switched to manual, guiding the shuttle closer. As the distance closed, details appeared on the hull. The outer surface was covered in faint lines, shallow grooves that curved and branched like the veins of a leaf. Every now and then the grooves caught the starlight and glimmered in a pattern that looked almost intentional, as if the ship wore a quiet map on its skin. He adjusted his approach, scanning for any structural weak points. No vents, no thrusters, no obvious engine bells. It was not shaped like human craft either, no sharp angles, no modular plating. It was smooth, organic, like someone had grown it rather than built it. A soft beep. Another scan returned, then returned again, as if the shuttle's computer could not decide what to call the thing. Elias checked his notes. The salvage beacon attached to the ship was human-made and very recent. Someone had been here before him, close enough to tag it, and then left quickly. That bothered him more than the ship itself. He slid the shuttle along the hull, searching. At last he found a shallow indentation, a long oval like a closed eye. It was not labeled, but the shape suggested an access point. "All right," Elias said to no one. "Let's see if you blink." He launched a small adhesive dock pad, a standard salvage tool that could stick to almost anything. It latched on, lights turning from red to green. The pad unfolded a flexible tunnel that would connect the shuttle to the hull. Elias waited for the usual sound, the pad drilling a seal, the tunnel pressurizing. Instead, the pad made a confused buzz. The surface under it shifted, not like a plate moving, like skin responding to touch. Elias froze, hand hovering over the controls. The pad's drills met no resistance. The hull softened where the pad pressed, then firmed again around it, accepting the connection. The tunnel locked with a final click, as if the ship had decided it was easier to let him in than to argue. A cold prickling ran up Elias' neck. He swallowed. He told himself it was only smart materials, a kind of hull polymer that reacted to pressure. Humans had experimental versions of that, not on this scale, but still. He did a full suit check. Oxygen, pressure, mag boots, tool pack, power cells. He carried a compact repair kit, a diagnostic drone, and a small cutter he hoped he would not need. He also carried a backup beacon and a set of emergency flares because the universe loved to laugh at confidence. Before he stepped into the tunnel, he opened a private channel. "Control, I'm docked. No standard port. I'm entering now." Static answered first, then a voice that sounded too calm. "Copy that, Vance. Keep it short. Confirm status. Patch power if needed. Don't wander." Elias stared at the tunnel mouth. "If it's a ghost ship, I'll just ask it nicely to cooperate." No one laughed. He moved through the tunnel, boots clanking softly. The tunnel was human-made, but the air on the other side was not. As soon as he reached the hull, the tunnel's end ring pressed against the oval indentation. The eye opened in silence, the hull parting like a curtain. The air inside was thin but present, and it smelled faintly of clean metal and something like rain. He stepped through. Lights bloomed along the floor, dim at first, then stronger, as if waking from a long sleep. The corridor stretched ahead, curving slightly, and the walls were lined with the same vein-like grooves. They glowed gently now, pale blue, like moonlight underwater. Elias raised his wrist scanner. No human signage, no warning labels, no marks he recognized. The corridor was wide enough for a small truck, but empty. The air composition was wrong for humans, too low oxygen, too much inert gas. His suit handled it, but it confirmed what he already knew. This ship was not built for his kind. He released the diagnostic drone. It floated forward, small and steady, painting the space in invisible scans. The drone's feed appeared on his visor. Temperature stable, radiation low, structural integrity surprisingly high. Life signs. The drone's sensors flickered, then locked on something deeper in the ship. Faint bioelectric patterns like a heartbeat heard through a wall. Not one heartbeat, many, or perhaps one very large system that mimicked many. Elias felt his throat tight. "Control," he said quietly. "I'm reading life activity, not human, hard to tell what exactly." The reply came with a small delay. "Copy. Stay focused on power and access. Don't engage. We're sending a science team once you confirm it's safe." Elias almost snorted. Safe. In space, safe meant not currently on fire. He walked forward, careful with each step. The floor under his boots had a subtle give, like a hard rubber surface. When he stopped, the glow under his feet brightened slightly, then dimmed when he moved again. The ship was reacting to him. "Okay," he murmured. "You're awake or waking." He followed the corridor until it widened into a chamber. The ceiling rose high above, lost in shadow. At the center stood a structure that looked like a tree made of glass and dark metal, roots spreading across the floor, branches reaching into the air. Panels of faint light hovered around it, not solid screens but thin layers of shimmer, like projected water. His drone circled the structure. Data spilled into Elias' visor and then stopped, as if the sensors had hit a language barrier. The ship was full of devices his tools could see but could not name. He did what he always did when faced with something unknown. He looked for power flow. Cables were obvious on human ships. This ship hid its systems inside itself, but the glowing veins told a story. They pulsed in slow patterns. Some were dark and dead. Others flickered weakly, like a heart trying to beat with not enough blood. Elias moved closer, scanning. The structure in the center was a relay node, maybe the ship's main distribution hub. It was cold to the touch through his glove, but he felt a faint vibration, like a distant engine turning over. The shuttle's tether cable and dock pad could supply limited power, but not enough for a ship this size. If he wanted to stabilize it, he needed to restart internal systems, at least enough to stop whatever slow failure was happening. He knelt near the roots and found a seam. A panel, maybe. He tried his cutter, expecting resistance. Instead, the seam opened at his touch, unfolding like a flower. Inside, a compartment revealed a lattice of crystalline components arranged in layers. Some were cracked. Tiny fractures ran through them like ice on a pond. Elias hissed softly, "That's your problem." Crystal tech was known, but this was advanced beyond anything he'd seen. It looked like a hybrid of circuitry and bone. He pulled out a micro-welder and a repair foam injector. Repairing alien crystal with human tools was like fixing a violin with a hammer. But the fractures were clean. If he could stabilize the structure, he might restore conduction. He worked carefully, applying foam that hardened into a transparent brace, then using the welder to seal micro-cracks. The ship responded in small ways, lights shifting, the glow steadying, the faint vibration becoming more confident. It was as if the vessel was watching his hands and deciding whether to trust them. As he finished one section, a tone sounded behind him. He spun, raising his cutter. A small object floated from the darkness. It was no larger than his head, shaped like a smooth oval with a ring around it. It did not look like a weapon, but it moved with purpose. It hovered at a cautious distance, then rotated, a single lens-like surface focusing on him. Elias held still. His heart thudded in his ears. The object made a soft chime. The air around it shimmered, and a faint pattern of light appeared like a symbol drawn in the air. Then the pattern shifted, trying again as if searching for a way to speak. Elias slowly lowered his cutter. "I don't understand you," he said, feeling a little foolish talking to a floating thing. "But I'm here to fix your ship, not break it." The object paused. The lights around the chamber brightened a fraction. The veins in the walls pulsed in a calmer rhythm. The object drifted closer and stopped near the open panel he was working on. It scanned the repairs, then chimed again. This time the tone sounded approving. Not a motion exactly, but a clear confirmation. Elias let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. "Okay," he whispered. "Good, we're cooperating." He returned to the work. The floating object stayed nearby, sometimes shifting position as if to give him better light. Once when his foam injector sputtered, a thin beam from the object touched the tool and it started working again. Elias stared, then decided not to ask questions he could not handle. Minutes turned into an hour. He stabilized several cracked lattice lines. The ship's glow increased. The vibration deepened, turning into a steady hum that filled the air like a quiet song. His wrist scanner suddenly beeped. A new power signature was rising from deep in the ship, like a reactor waking slowly. Not a human reactor. Something smoother, more efficient, with layers of control he could barely read. Elias contacted Control. "I've patched the main distribution lattice. Power is rising. The ship's systems are coming online." Control's voice sounded sharper now. "Copy, any threats?" Elias glanced at the floating object. It hovered like a patient animal. "No direct threats. There's a drone. It seems helpful." There was a pause then. "Understood. Finish the minimum needed. Do not activate anything you don't have to." Elias almost laughed at that because everything he was doing was something he didn't have to, according to human manuals. But he understood the fear behind the order. Unknown ships had unknown defenses. He turned back to the central structure. The projected shimmer panels had grown brighter and more complex. Shapes formed, maps, maybe, or status readouts. The ship was starting to remember itself. Then, without warning, the floor lights flared. The chamber's glow surged, and a wave of warmth rolled through the air like a deep breath. Elias stumbled, catching himself on the relay structure. His visor flashed a warning as the electromagnetic field spiked. The floating object chimed urgently and darted to the side as if startled. Elias steadied his breathing. "What was that?" The ship answered in the only way it could, by changing. The shimmer panels aligned, forming a single wide field of light in front of him. Symbols raced across it. They were not human letters, but the motion carried meaning, system checks, authentication, priorities. Then a shape appeared on the panel, not a face, not truly, but a stylized emblem, a crown-like arc over a star. A simple mark that felt heavy with importance. Elias' skin prickled. He didn't know why, but the symbol made him think of authority, of command codes, of someone who owned this place. His drone beeped in his ear. "New signal detected," it reported in flat machine voice. "Transmission initiating." Elias' eyes widened. "Wait!" He lunged toward the relay structure, trying to cut the transmission. But the system did not respond to his tools anymore. The ship was awake enough to ignore him. The glowing veins on the walls pulsed faster, like a heartbeat speeding up with excitement. On his visor, a signal wave expanded outward from the ship, reaching beyond the dead zone, slicing through space like a thrown spear. It was not a distress call in human format. It was something older, something encoded with layers of meaning, a message that did not ask for help. It announced presence. It announced return. Elias opened a channel to Control, voice tight. "Control, the ship just sent a transmission, not human. I didn't authorize it." Static, then overlapping voices on Control's side. Someone cursed under their breath. Then the calm voice returned, no longer calm at all. "Vance, repeat. It transmitted to where?" "I don't know," Elias said. He stared at the crown-like emblem still glowing on the panel. But it looked like it was waking up a network. The floating object drifted close to Elias again, hovering near his shoulder like a guard. Its lens faced the emblem, then faced Elias. It chimed once, soft, final, certain. Elias understood none of the language, but the meaning landed anyway, heavy as gravity. The ship was not lost. It had been waiting, and now, because of him, it had told someone it was found. Elias swallowed, staring into the dark curve of the chamber as if something might step out of it at any moment. His suit felt suddenly smaller, his tools suddenly childish. Outside, the stars stayed quiet. But deep in the ship, far below the chamber, something answered the rising power with a slow, deliberate shift, like a giant mind turning toward consciousness. Elias backed away from the relay structure, eyes fixed on the emblem, and wondered what kind of owner marked a ship with a crown. And what kind of universe would respond when that crown lit up again? The ship did not wake all at once. It woke in layers. Elias felt it first in the floor. The gentle hum under his boots deepened, steady and strong, no longer the weak pulse of a dying system. The air pressure shifted just a little, then adjusted again, closer to something breathable. His suit compensated automatically, but the change was clear. The ship was correcting itself. Lights spread along the walls, brighter now, warmer in color. The floating object near Elias pulsed once, then moved away, gliding toward the far side of the chamber as if called. Elias stayed where he was, heart pounding. He had repaired broken ships before. He had restarted reactors, brought dead stations back online. None of them had felt like this. This ship did not simply turn on. It became aware. His wrist scanner chirped again. Life activity increasing, the drone reported. Central biosignature stabilizing. Central, Elias whispered. There's a main one. The shimmer panel in front of him changed. The crown-like emblem faded, replaced by flowing symbols that moved more slowly now, like calm speech instead of alarms. The patterns folded inward, then reshaped themselves into something almost familiar. A figure formed, not physical, not fully real. It was a projection made of light and shadow, tall and slender, with a shape that suggested a humanoid form without copying it exactly. The head was elongated, crowned with a natural crest that echoed the emblem Elias had seen earlier. The eyes were bright points of light, focused and sharp. Elias' body reacted before his mind caught up. He took a step back, boots scraping softly against the floor. The figure looked at him, not through him, not past him, at him. The air felt heavier, as if the ship itself leaned in to listen. The figure spoke, and the sound bypassed Elias' ears. It arrived directly in his mind, not as words at first, but as intent, recognition, assessment, controlled surprise. Then the ship adjusted. A second later, the voice came again, this time translated into rough, simple English, the syntax uneven, the tone calm but powerful. "You are not of my kind." Elias swallowed hard. His mouth was dry. "No," he said, "I'm human." The figure tilted its head slightly. "Human." The name aligns with archived data. Archived. The word sent a chill through him. "You walk my ship," the voice continued. "You repair what my people could not reach in time. Explain." Elias lifted his hands slowly, palms open. "Your ship was damaged. Power systems were failing. I was sent to repair it." "Sent," the figure repeated. "By whom?" "By my people, human command." Elias hesitated, then added, "They didn't know whose ship this was. Neither did I." The eyes of the projection brightened. The floating object that had helped him drifted into view and hovered near the figure's side, like a loyal attendant. "You speak without submission," the voice said. "You show no signs of deception. This is unusual." Elias let out a nervous breath. "I'm not very good at pretending." Silence followed. The ship hummed around them, systems syncing, pathways opening. Elias' drone feed lit up with data streams it still couldn't fully read. Then the voice spoke again, slower now. "I am the sovereign of this vessel. By your language, I am called Queen." The word landed heavy in the air. Elias' knees felt weak. A queen, not an AI, not a commander, royalty. The implications crashed into him all at once. "I didn't know," he said quickly. "If I had." "You would not have entered?" the queen asked. Elias thought of mission control, of orders, of salvage tags and quiet lies. He thought of the way the hull had opened for him. "I don't know," he said honestly, "but the ship was dying." The queen studied him. Elias felt it like pressure against his thoughts, not painful but deep, as if she were reading the shape of his mind rather than the words he spoke. "My people abandoned this ship to save the Empire," she said. "They placed me in stasis and fled. I was not meant to wake here." Elias frowned. "You were left behind." "I was preserved," she corrected, "until recovery was possible." "But no one came," Elias said softly. "No," the queen replied, "they did not." For the first time, something like emotion leaked through her perfect control, not anger. Not grief, loneliness. Elias shifted his weight. He didn't know how to speak to a queen. He barely knew how to speak to his supervisors, but silence felt wrong. "Your ship sent a signal," he said. "I didn't mean for that to happen." "I know," the queen said. "The ship recognized you as a stabilizing agent. When core systems recovered, priority protocols resumed." "What kind of protocols?" Elias asked. The queen's gaze sharpened. "Survival, authority, recall." Elias' stomach dropped. "Recall who?" "Those who still answer my call," she said, "and those who fear it." As if to underline her words, Elias' scanner lit up with long-range readings. New signals flickered at the edge of detection, faint, distant, but moving. "They're coming," Elias whispered. "Yes," the queen said calmly, "they are." Elias ran a hand through his hair inside the helmet. "This is bad. This is really bad." "Your reaction is inefficient," the queen observed. Welcome to humanity, Elias muttered, then caught himself. Sorry. I mean, what I'm saying is, if powerful aliens show up here, human command will panic. They might see this ship as a threat. The Queen considered this. Your species is not listed as a threat. That's because we're new, Elias said, and because most people underestimate us. The Queen's eyes flicked to him. You repaired a royal vessel with tools not designed for it. You defied my ship's sacred engineering principles and improved its function. That is not underestimation. That is error. Elias blinked. Thank you. The floating object chimed softly. The Queen's projection shifted, becoming more solid, more detailed. Elias noticed fine patterns across her form, like living armor grown rather than worn. You are designated Elias Vance, she said. Elias stiffened. How do you know my name? Your suit broadcasts identity markers, she replied. You leave traces everywhere. Humans are loud. He snorted despite himself. That sounds about right. The Queen watched him closely. By our law, unauthorized presence aboard a royal vessel is punishable by death. Elias' heart slammed against his ribs. I figured as much. Yet, she continued, you restored my ship. You enabled my awakening. You did not flee when addressed. These actions conflict with execution. Elias forced himself to meet her gaze. I didn't come here to steal anything or to take control. I fix things, that's what I do. Why? The Queen asked. Why does your kind repair what is not yours? Elias opened his mouth, then closed it again. The question caught him off guard. I don't know, he said finally. Because if something's broken and you can fix it, it feels wrong not to try. The Queen was silent for a long moment. The ship around them adjusted again. Doors opened in the distance. Systems aligned. The air grew cleaner. At last she spoke. My empire is fractured. While I slept, rivals rose, borders fell, loyalty decayed. This ship carries command codes, genetic keys, and authority imprints. If my enemies reach it first, they will erase me. Elias felt a cold knot form in his gut. And if your allies reach it? Then they will kneel, the Queen said, and expect me to lead them to war. Elias exhaled slowly. Either way, this ends badly. For many, she agreed. The floating object drifted closer to Elias again, hovering protectively at his side. He noticed it now, really noticed it. It wasn't just a drone. It moved with awareness, adjusting its position based on his breathing, his stance. It likes you, Elias said before he could stop himself. The Queen followed his gaze. It is a guardian node. It judges threats and assets. And it thinks I'm what? Elias asked. A variable, the Queen replied. An unexpected one. Elias glanced at the growing signals on his scanner. They were still far, but closing faster than anything human could manage. Listen, he said, choosing his words carefully. I didn't plan to get involved in alien politics, but if someone's coming here with bad intentions, I don't think running away will help. You propose resistance? The Queen asked. I propose survival, Elias said, for you and for me. And maybe for my people if they get dragged into this. The Queen's eyes narrowed slightly. You assume much. I do, Elias admitted, but humans survive by assuming we can make things better and then figuring out how. The ship hummed louder as if listening. The Queen stepped closer, her projection towering over Elias. He felt small, fragile, very human, but he did not look away. You have already altered my ship, she said. Its systems now bear human logic scars. It adapts faster. It bends instead of resists. This was not how it was designed. Elias shrugged. Designs aren't sacred to us. Results are. For a moment, Elias thought she might be angry. Instead, she laughed. The sound was strange and beautiful, like metal chimes in deep water. It echoed through the chamber, resonating with the ship itself. My people worship perfection, the Queen said. They believe deviation invites collapse. And mine believe perfection is a myth, Elias replied. If you wait for perfect conditions, you die waiting. The laughter faded. The Queen studied him anew, not as an intruder now, but as something else. Elias Vance, she said, you will remain aboard my ship. His stomach flipped. As a prisoner, as a protector, she said, until this crisis ends. Elias hesitated. Staying meant defying human command. It meant stepping into a conflict he barely understood. But leaving meant abandoning a sentient being who had trusted him with her survival. He looked at the guardian node floating beside him. It chimed once, softly. All right, Elias said. But we're going to need to make some changes. The Queen's eyes gleamed. Explain. Your ship is powerful, Elias said, already thinking like an engineer. But it's predictable, sacred systems, fixed pathways, anyone who knows your tech can counter it. And you would change that? She asked. Elias smiled, a thin, determined human smile. I already have. Outside the ship, far beyond human space, something ancient and hostile adjusted its course, responding to a signal it had never expected to hear again. The Queen felt it through the deep layers of her ship and straightened, regal and unafraid. Humanity, it seemed, had arrived not with fleets or flags, but with a repair kit. And that, she realized, might change everything. The ship did not like change. Elias learned that very quickly. When he rerouted the first power loop, the lights flickered in protest. The smooth hum of the systems wavered, dropping into a low vibration that made his teeth ache. The Guardian node hovered closer, its soft glow tightening into a sharper focus, as if unsure whether to help or stop him. Elias wiped sweat from his brow inside the helmet. I know, he muttered. I know you weren't built for this, neither was I. The Queen watched from the center of the chamber, her projection steady and calm. She did not interfere. That alone told Elias how serious the situation was. A ruler who let an outsider reshape her royal ship was either desperate or very confident, or both. Your enemies are closer, she said. Their signatures grow clearer. Elias glanced at his scanner. Several contacts now burned bright against the dark, sleek, sharp shapes of alien warcraft moving with disciplined precision, not one fleet, several. Rivals drawn by the same call. They're fast, Elias said, too fast for us to outrun in a straight line. My ship was never meant to flee, the Queen replied. It was meant to command. Well, Elias said, fingers dancing over his tools, today it's going to do both. He crawled into an access corridor that had opened only after he convinced the ship to allow manual overrides. The walls pulsed gently as he moved, reacting to his presence. The corridor narrowed, then widened again, reshaping itself like a living thing trying to accommodate an unfamiliar guest. Elias reached a junction where three major energy veins crossed. This was a control choke point, beautiful, elegant, and dangerously rigid. Too perfect, he murmured. He deployed his repair foam again, not to fix cracks this time, but to create new paths. He injected it across one of the veins, forcing power to divert through secondary channels the ship barely used. Alarms flared, alien symbols flashing warnings. The ship resisted. The Guardian node chimed sharply, darting between the walls and Elias like a worried animal. I'm not breaking you, Elias said aloud. I'm teaching you how to limp when your leg is cut. The foam hardened. The energy flow stuttered, then stabilized, uneven but alive. Across the ship, systems responded. Shields adjusted. Thrusters that had not been active since the ship's abandonment flickered to life. Not in their original patterns, but in new, messy ones. The Queen's eyes narrowed as she felt it. You are corrupting sacred pathways. I'm giving you options, Elias replied over the comm. Your enemies expect a perfect response. They know your old patterns. And you would replace them with chaos. With human chaos, Elias said. There's a difference. The first enemy ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel without warning, too close for comfort. Its hull bristled with weapons that glowed a hostile red. It did not broadcast. It did not hesitate. Contact, Elias said sharply. The Queen raised a hand. The ship responded instantly, shields flaring bright and smooth. The first volley slammed into them, energy washing over the hull like a storm against a cliff. The ship held, but Elias could see the problem at once. The shields absorbed the hit perfectly and then redistributed the stress in predictable ways. They're probing, he said, mapping your defenses. Let them, the Queen said coldly. They will break before my will does. Maybe, Elias said, already rerouting systems. But maybe not fast enough. The enemy ship fired again, this time focusing on a single arc. The shield dimmed slightly there, exactly as Elias feared. See, he said, they know you. He slammed a control override into place, forcing shield generators to cycle irregularly. Instead of a smooth barrier, the shield flickered, uneven and shifting. The enemy's third shot missed its mark entirely, skimming past the ship in a blaze of wasted energy. The Queen's eyes widened. You destabilized the shield grid. On purpose, Elias said. They can't predict what doesn't follow rules. More enemy ships arrived, forming a loose ring. Some held back, others advanced aggressively. Different factions, Elias realized, different tactics, all hungry for the same prize. The ship shook as another barrage hit. Something deep within the hull cracked. Damage on lower decks, Elias said. I'm going down. You will not, the queen said. It is too dangerous. Elias didn't slow down. Then send your guardian with me. The guardian node darted forward instantly, as if relieved to have a clear task. Elias sprinted through the corridors as gravity shifted. The ship twisted, not elegantly, but abruptly, like a living thing dodging a blow. He slammed into a wall, bounced off, and kept moving. They reached a lower chamber where a major thruster assembly glowed erratically. Alien crystal lattices were fracturing under stress. Elias slid to his knees and got to work, bracing cracks, rerouting output, muttering curses under his breath. The Guardian node projected a field around the assembly, stabilizing it. You're learning, Elias said, breathless. Above them, the battle intensified. One enemy ship broke formation, charging head-on. Its weapons flared brighter than the others. That one's different, Elias said, glancing at the feed. He's betting everything on one hit. He is a warlord, the queen said over the comm. If he strikes the command core, he claims legitimacy. Elias' jaw tightened. Not today. He did something reckless. He disconnected the thruster safeties. Power surged. The ship screamed, not in sound, but in vibration. Systems overloaded, then adapted, redistributing energy through Elias' messy human reroutes. Elias, the queen warned. Trust me, he said, or stop me. There was a pause. Then proceed. The ship lurched forward, not smoothly, but violently. It spun, twisted, and dropped its shields for half a second, an unthinkable move in alien warfare. The warlord fired. The shot passed through empty space. The ship reappeared behind the enemy formation, its shields snapping back on in a new configuration. Several enemy vessels collided as they tried to react. Elias whooped despite himself. Yes, the Guardian node chimed excitedly. The queen stood taller, something fierce awakening in her posture. They do not understand this form of battle. Humans call it improvising, Elias said. Sometimes it works. One enemy ship managed to land a hit, slicing into the hull near Elias' position. The chamber filled with smoke and sparks. He was thrown hard against the floor, stars bursting behind his eyes. His suit alarms screamed. The Guardian node moved instantly, projecting a stabilizing field over him, sealing breaches in the hull with energy Elias had never seen before. Elias, the queen said, her voice sharper now. Respond, he groaned. Still alive, that one counts as rude. The queen did not reply at once. When she did, her voice was different, less distant, more personal. You are injured because of me. Elias pushed himself up, wincing. Part of the job. I did not command you to risk yourself. Elias met the projection's gaze through the smoke. You didn't have to. Outside, the enemy fleets faltered. Their formations broke down as the ship continued its unpredictable movements. What should have been a clean execution turned into confusion. Some ships retreated. Others hesitated. The warlord's vessel burned, drifting powerless. The queen raised both hands. The ship responded, targeting systems locking with cold precision. End this, Elias said quietly. Before they regroup, she hesitated. They will not forget this, she said. Neither will we, Elias replied. The queen made her choice. A single, focused strike disabled the remaining hostile ships without destroying them. Power cores shut down. Weapons went dark. Silence spread across the battlefield. The stars seemed to breathe again. Elias slumped against a wall, exhausted. The Guardian node hovered close, steady and warm. The queen's projection appeared before him once more. She looked changed, not weaker, sharper. My people would call this heresy, she said. Elias smiled tiredly. Humans call it Tuesday. She studied him for a long moment. You turned my flagship into something new, she said. Not a relic, not a symbol, a survivor. He shrugged. Ships are like people, they need to adapt or they break. The queen inclined her head slightly, a gesture of respect. You have altered the balance of power, she said. Because of you, my enemies fear not just my return, but the methods you bring. Elias' smile faded. That's what worries me. The Guardian node chimed softly, as if agreeing. Far away, human sensors finally picked up the echoes of the battle. Signals raced toward human space, full of confusion and alarm. The queen looked out into the stars. Your species will be noticed now. Elias followed her gaze. We always are, sooner or later. The ship hummed around them, no longer perfect, no longer sacred, but alive, and ready for what came next. The silence after the battle felt unreal. Elias floated for a moment in the low gravity as the ship slowly stabilized itself. The lights dimmed from combat brightness to a softer glow, and damaged sections sealed with quiet efficiency. The ship no longer felt tense. It felt tired, like a living thing that had survived a hard fight and was now catching its breath. The Queen stood near the main projection field, her form steady and regal. The Guardian node hovered beside Elia's, close but no longer urgent. "It is finished," the Queen said. "For now." Elias pushed himself upright and winced as his bruised side reminded him it was still there. "That's usually how it goes. For now." She turned to face him. "You should have fled when the fighting began. Most beings would have." "Most beings don't like broken ships," Elias replied, "or unfinished jobs." The Queen studied him carefully. There was no anger in her gaze. No suspicion, only judgment. "My law is clear," she said. "Unauthorized entry, structural alteration, command interference, any one of these is a capital offense." Elias nodded. "I figured, so this is the part where I get spaced." The Guardian node pulsed sharply, almost in protest. The Queen raised one hand and it quieted. "You saved my life," she said. "You preserved my authority. You reshaped my flagship in a way my own people never would have dared." She stepped closer and Elias felt the weight of her presence again, not physical but undeniable. "My empire will rebuild," she continued. "But it will not be the same. They have seen that perfection can fail. They have seen that adaptation wins." Elias scratched the back of his neck. "Glad my bad habits are useful," she almost smiled. "There is a place for you," the Queen said. "At my side, advisor, engineer, voice of a new doctrine, you would be protected, honored." Elias was quiet for a long moment. He looked at the walls of the ship, at the glowing veins now carrying power in messy, uneven paths. He thought of Earth, of loud cities, of people arguing over small things and fixing big ones without asking permission. "I can't," he said softly. The Queen did not react at once. "Explain. My people didn't send me here to become someone else's symbol," Elias said. "They sent me to fix a problem. I did that. Staying would mean choosing your future over theirs." "And you choose humanity," the Queen said. "I choose not to rule anyone," Elias replied. "That's kind of our thing." The Queen considered this, then she nodded once. "Very well," she said. "You will return to your kind." Elias let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. "Thank you. But understand this," she added. "Your species can no longer hide in obscurity." The projection shifted. Stars appeared, then layers of space beyond human charts. Signals spread outward, touching distant systems. "I will broadcast one truth," the Queen said. "Humanity is not insignificant, it is unpredictable. Adaptive, dangerous when ignored," Elias grimaced. "You make us sound scary." "You are," she said simply, "in the way storms are." The Guardian node drifted forward and extended a thin beam of light toward Elias' wrist. His suit chimed as new data uploaded. "What's that?" he asked. "A marker," the Queen said. "Any vessel that reads it will know you are under my protection." Elias blinked. "That's a lot." "You will need it," she replied. The ship began to move, turning slowly toward the edge of human space. Elias' shuttle disengaged from the dock, sliding free without resistance. As he drifted back toward it, Elias paused and looked at the Queen one last time. "You know," he said, "your ship's still not perfect." Her eyes gleamed. "Neither are you." "That's why it works," Elias said. The shuttle's hatch closed behind him. Moments later, the engines fired, carrying him away. Behind him, the ancient flagship remained in the dark, no longer lost, no longer alone. Across the stars, empires listened to the Queen's message and quietly adjusted their plans. And on a small human shuttle, a tired engineer headed home, unaware that somewhere deep in alien space, the phrase human solution had just entered the galactic vocabulary.